Have you ever noticed how a simple question like, "Do we really need that?" can turn into a full-blown argument? It's rarely about the price of the item itself. Often, it's about something much deeper: security, freedom, or even old habits we learned growing up. Money arguments are common in relationships, but the good news is they don't have to be destructive. When two people come together in a relationship, they don't just bring their personalities, habits, and dreams. They also carry the money lessons they grew up with. These lessons, often absorbed quietly in childhood, shape how we see spending, saving, and financial security. One partner may remember a household where every expense was tracked, lights were turned off the moment no one was in the room, and family discussions centered around making things last. For them, money feels tied to safety, and saving is an act of love. The other partner may have been raised in a family that celebrated with spontaneous treats, where vacations or outings were prioritized even if it meant dipping into savings. To them, money represents freedom, generosity, and the joy of living in the present. When these two perspectives collide in marriage or long-term partnership, it can create tension that isn't really about dollars and cents. For example, one person may sigh when their partner orders dessert at a restaurant, thinking, "That's a waste of money." The other may feel judged and think, "Why can't I enjoy something small?" Neither one is truly upset about the dessert itself. The conflict is fueled by the weight of the stories they carry, the lessons their parents or caregivers lived out, and the emotions tied to those memories. What makes this dynamic tricky is that many couples don't realize they are reenacting their past whenever money comes up. They assume their way is the normal way, and anything else feels wrong or even reckless. That's why the first step to easing these clashes is not to argue over who is right, but to get curious about where each perspective comes from. A simple question like, "What did money feel like in your home growing up?" can unlock understanding that softens defensiveness. When partners share their money stories, they often discover that the differences make sense in context. The saver who gets anxious about spending might remember a parent losing a job and the fear that followed. The spender who embraces generosity may recall how special it felt when their parents stretched the budget to create joyful memories. These stories don't excuse the conflicts, but they explain them, and explanations help replace blame with compassion. Couples who learn to recognize the influence of these old narratives can start building a shared story together. Instead of "your way versus my way," it becomes "our way." That shift turns arguments into conversations, and conversations into opportunities to create a financial life that feels safe, joyful, and fair for both partners. In most relationships, money conversations don't start with a formal agreement about who will do what. Instead, roles take shape quietly, almost by accident. One partner may naturally step into paying the bills, while the other handles the grocery shopping. Over time, these small habits can grow into fixed identities. One person becomes the budget hawk, always watching every expense, while the other is labeled the spender, who justifies little treats or splurges. These roles aren't always openly discussed, but they begin to feel set in stone, almost like invisible costumes each partner wears. The challenge is that once those roles stick, they can create an imbalance in how each person feels about money. The saver may start to feel burdened, carrying the weight of responsibility for keeping things afloat. They might think, "If I don't track this, no one will." Meanwhile, the spender might feel misunderstood or even judged, as though their enjoyment of life is constantly under suspicion. These silent roles can trap couples in patterns where one feels like the parent and the other like the child, which naturally fuels resentment on both sides. What makes this cycle even trickier is that these roles often come from strengths. The partner who is detail-oriented may genuinely be good at organizing finances. The one who enjoys spending may be the one who brings spontaneity and joy into the relationship. But when those strengths harden into permanent positions, it leaves little room for empathy. Each partner only sees the weakness in the other's role instead of appreciating the balance they bring together. One way couples can shift this dynamic is by occasionally swapping responsibilities, even for a short time. Imagine the saver being the one to choose a small indulgence for the family, or the spender being the one who manages the monthly budget. This role reversal doesn't have to be permanent, but it can be eye-opening. The saver might discover the pleasure of treating loved ones without guilt, while the spender may realize how much thought goes into making sure bills are paid on time. When both partners walk in each other's shoes, it builds empathy instead of judgment. The deeper truth is that money roles don't have to be rigid. They can be shared, rotated, and adapted as life changes. Recognizing that roles exist is the first step to loosening their grip. Couples who stay flexible with these unspoken positions often find their money conversations shift from battles of you versus me into teamwork where both strengths are valued and both voices matter. When couples argue about money, it may sound like they're fighting over numbers, but beneath the surface, fear is often driving the conversation. Fear is a powerful emotion, and it doesn't always announce itself clearly. Instead, it hides behind complaints about spending, disagreements about saving, or tension over big decisions like buying a car, downsizing a home, or helping adult children financially. What looks like anger is often just anxiety in disguise. Consider a couple debating whether to take a vacation. One insists, "We shouldn't spend on something so unnecessary," while the other argues, "We deserve to enjoy ourselves after years of work." On the surface, it's about plane tickets and hotel costs. Underneath, one partner is afraid of running out of money in retirement, while the other is afraid of missing out on joy while health and time still allow. Both fears are valid, but because they aren't named directly, they show up as conflict instead of compassion. Fear can come from past experiences too. Someone who lived through financial hardship may carry the memory of not having enough food on the table or seeing their parents stressed about bills. That history doesn't disappear just because the present looks different. Another partner might fear the opposite, fear of becoming so cautious with money that life slips by without enjoying the fruits of hard work. These inner stories shape how each person reacts, even if they don't consciously realize it. The tricky part is that fear often makes people defensive. Instead of admitting, "I'm worried about the future," it feels easier to criticize a spending choice or question a financial plan. But when couples slow down and ask, "What are we really afraid of here?" the tone of the conversation changes. Naming the fear out loud doesn't solve the problem instantly, but it takes away the sting of blame. Suddenly, it's not, "You spend too much," versus "You're too controlling." It becomes, "We're both trying to protect what matters to us." Recognizing fear behind the argument creates space for empathy. A partner who hears, "I'm afraid we won't be secure later," can respond with reassurance instead of defensiveness. A partner who admits, "I'm afraid life will pass us by," can invite joy into the plan without guilt. When fear is spoken instead of hidden, money talks shift from heated battles to honest conversations about values, security, and hope for the future. Many couples assume that money fights come from not having enough income or from disagreeing over numbers, but often the real issue is timing. Picture this: one partner brings up the electric bill just as the other is drifting off to sleep, or a question about retirement savings comes up in the middle of getting ready for a family gathering. Even if the numbers themselves are reasonable, the timing almost guarantees frustration. Stress, fatigue, or distraction makes both partners more likely to snap, and what could have been a simple 5-minute discussion turns into an argument that lasts the whole evening. That's why some couples find it helpful to think less about calculators and more about calendars. Choosing the right moment to talk about money is just as important as the budget itself. Instead of discussing bills in passing or surprising each other with financial worries at stressful times, scheduling a calm check-in can change the entire tone. Imagine sitting down on a quiet Sunday afternoon with a cup of tea or taking a short walk together and gently raising the topic. The conversation feels less like an attack and more like teamwork. The benefit of setting these money appointments is that both partners come prepared emotionally and mentally. One isn't blindsided, the other isn't rushed, and both know the goal is to talk, not fight. It's similar to how families schedule doctor visits or parent-teacher meetings. Important matters are handled better when they're given their own time and space. This simple shift often reduces the tension more effectively than any complicated financial formula. There's also an added bonus: scheduled conversations tend to be shorter and more focused. Instead of dragging out financial discussions throughout the week, couples can cover the essentials in one sitting. This leaves more room for daily life to feel peaceful and less dominated by money talk. It creates a rhythm where both partners know that financial concerns will be addressed, but not at random moments when patience is thin. Over time, the practice of choosing the calendar over the calculator strengthens trust. Each partner feels respected because timing becomes an act of kindness. It sends the message: our relationship matters more than this bill, so let's choose the right time to talk. That shift can transform money conversations from being dreaded arguments into predictable, calm check-ins that build connection rather than conflict. So much of the conversation around money in relationships focuses on problems: what went over budget, what wasn't saved, or which decision created stress. It's no wonder many couples feel drained whenever the topic comes up. But what if money discussions also became moments of encouragement? Celebrating small wins together can shift the whole emotional tone, making financial teamwork feel rewarding instead of heavy. Think about how families cheer for little victories in other parts of life. A child learns to ride a bike, and everyone claps. A grandparent finally masters video calling, and the whole family smiles. These moments matter because they create positive energy. Money can be the same way. Paying off a small credit card, sticking to a budget for the month, or resisting the urge to buy something unnecessary may seem minor, but those victories deserve recognition. Even something as simple as saying, "I'm proud of us for staying on track this week," can make both partners feel like they're on the same team. Celebrating financial wins doesn't mean throwing a party every time a bill is paid. It can be as simple as sharing a nice meal at home, taking a walk together, or setting aside time to talk about what went well before diving into the next challenge. The key is to notice progress, not just problems. Over time, these small celebrations build a culture of positivity around money. Instead of bracing for criticism, each partner looks forward to acknowledgement and encouragement. What's interesting is how this approach can also ripple outward into family life. Adult children and even grandchildren can be included in the spirit of celebration. Imagine telling the family, "We finally reached our savings goal for a weekend trip, and we can't wait to share it with you." That kind of openness not only teaches younger generations about good habits, but also shows that money isn't only about stress. It can be about shared joy and achievement. The real value of celebrating wins together is that it strengthens connection. It reminds couples that money is not just numbers on a page, but a tool they're using side by side. Recognizing progress builds momentum, and momentum builds trust. Instead of constantly feeling like there's more to fix, couples get to pause and say, look how far we've come. That shift, though small, can make financial teamwork feel lighter, warmer, and far more sustainable over time. When couples think about money, the conversation often feels private, something to be handled between two people. Yet for many families, especially those in retirement years, finances are rarely just about the couple. Adult children, grandchildren, and even aging parents often play a role, whether it's helping with expenses, planning for inheritance, or making choices about shared traditions and responsibilities. Keeping money conversations completely behind closed doors can sometimes lead to misunderstandings, stress, or even conflict later. Bringing family into the discussion, in age-appropriate and thoughtful ways, can actually create more harmony and understanding across generations. Imagine a couple quietly worrying about how to support an elderly parent while still saving for their own future. If they keep that stress hidden, their adult children may never understand why certain family outings are cut back or why some decisions feel tight. But if the couple shares openly, without oversharing every detail, they give their children the chance to support, empathize, and even help. That honesty turns money from a secret source of tension into an opportunity for connection. The same goes for talking with children and grandchildren about values. For instance, grandparents might explain why they prioritize hosting Sunday family dinners over buying new gadgets, or why they set aside part of their budget for education funds. These conversations don't have to be lectures, they can be stories that pass down values. Younger family members may not remember every dollar amount, but they'll remember the sense of purpose and care behind those choices. Inviting family into the dialogue also helps prevent surprises. Many disagreements between siblings after a parent passes away stem from not knowing what mom or dad wanted. By being clear early on, couples can set expectations gently and avoid confusion or resentment later. Sharing the why behind decisions is often just as important as the decisions themselves. It's not only about who gets what, but about the legacy of love and thoughtfulness left behind. The key is balance. Not every financial detail needs to be laid out, but opening the door to conversation shows trust and respect. When couples bring family into the discussion, money stops being an isolating subject and instead becomes part of the bigger story of family life. Done with care, these talks strengthen bonds, teach valuable lessons, and turn financial planning into a shared act of love rather than a private burden. Most money conversations in relationships circle around numbers, budgets, bills, savings, and debt. While these are important, they often leave couples feeling drained, as if money is only about sacrifice and pressure. What often gets lost is the bigger question: what do we want our money to do for us? This is where the unexpected twist comes in. Instead of starting with what to cut back on, couples can begin by talking about joy. What brings meaning, happiness, and connection? When joy leads the discussion, numbers naturally follow, but with less tension and more purpose. Imagine two people arguing over whether to spend on a weekend getaway. If the conversation begins with the cost, the debate may spiral into guilt or defensiveness. But if they start by asking, "What would bring us the most joy right now?" the focus shifts. Maybe the joy comes from traveling together, creating memories, and breaking routine. Or maybe joy comes from staying home and using that money to host family dinners. By defining joy first, the couple isn't just crunching numbers. They're aligning their spending with what truly matters. This approach also prevents money from becoming purely about restriction. Too often, financial talks feel like a list of don'ts. Don't spend here, don't waste there. But when couples name the things that bring joy, they create a shared vision to work toward. That vision may be as big as planning a family reunion or as small as enjoying coffee together at a favorite cafe. Both partners feel heard, and the sacrifices they make along the way don't feel like punishment. They feel like steps towards something meaningful. Another benefit is that joy-based conversations open the door for creativity. Couples may discover new, affordable ways to find happiness that don't strain their budget. For instance, instead of a costly vacation, they might plan a local adventure or revive a family tradition that costs little but fills the heart. The focus becomes less about how much is spent and more about how intentionally it's spent. When joy becomes part of money talks, the atmosphere changes. It's no longer about who's right or wrong, or who's being too cautious or too carefree. It becomes about building a life together that feels rich in experiences, relationships, and love. Numbers matter, but they find their true value when they're tied to joy. Couples who embrace this twist often find that financial planning feels less like a chore and more like dreaming together, turning money from a source of conflict into a tool for connection. Money arguments are normal, but they don't have to drive distance between partners. When couples uncover their money stories, rotate roles, name fears, choose the right timing, celebrate wins, and include family, the conversation shifts from blame to bonding. And when joy becomes part of the dialogue, money stops being the enemy and starts becoming a tool for connection. If you and your partner have ever turned a small money question into a big debate, you're not alone. Share your story in the comments. What helped you find common ground? And if you found this video helpful, consider subscribing for more conversations on family, bonding, and retirement life.